So this is our tour. Right now we're at the Dawson Ferry. It was pretty high a couple of days ago and they actually shut the ferry down, but it's all running good now. So this is the Dawson Ferry that takes us to Tok, Alaska, Chicken, Alaska, and the top of the world highway. Fantastic road. I'll do some videotaping, it'll be great. But this is our crew. We have 16 of us, chase trucks in the back. Yeah, so this is it. This is, if you ever come to Dawson, this is what it's going to look like at the ferry. Right here, you line up, the ferry's over there, comes, picks us up, and away we go.
Welcome to Ride Realized. Clint is the general manager and tour leader for Dualsport Plus and Dualsport Plus Tours. He's been great and has offered some time to go through some questions that I had that I think will help the community, especially new ADV riders and guys who are maybe going on their first tour, to help with a bit of the anxiety or just give general info. Clint, you've gone on a lot of destinations over the years. Where have you guys been to?
Well, actually, so this coming up June, this will be my 10th time going on a tour to the Yukon. So this is my 10th time going up the Dempster. I've been to Baja a couple of times. I've been to Colorado with tours 4 times. The Northeast BDR, we've done 2 tours. So it's been an awful lot of tours over the years. We've started back in 2015, I think was our first tour. We went to Yukon, and then it's just sort of evolved from that. Over the years, we've learned things. We know what to do. Experience, all that. So I'm just hoping that I can add something to your films.
No, sounds good. So I'm gonna go by script on this. It just makes it easier. I think it's easier for Clint, and then we can stay on track and keep our topics focused. So guys are looking for what to expect on their first guided tour. So what typically surprises first-time riders when you take them, say, to Yukon or Colorado?
Honestly, I think it's the length of the ride. Most guys, when they come on a tour, we're getting guys that don't ride all the time. So all of a sudden, when we string 5 or 6 days in a row, usually the first day, guys are like spent, they're done because, you know, it's 500 kilometers. Most riders don't do that, you know, in a week, let alone in a day. So that to me, that's probably the one thing that people get totally surprised about. And then to get up tomorrow morning at 8:30 or 9 o'clock and do it all over again.
Do you find by the end of the trip, on the last days of the long miles, they're used to it and they acclimatize to it, or is it just a downward slope and by the end, that last day?
So on our Yukon one, if we were going to talk about the Yukon tour specifically, the first 2 days are the longest, and then after that, there's less and less and less. So it kind of works out good. You get the 2 big sort of travel days out of the way, and then after that, it's 300 kilometers. But it's all awesome scenery, and so you sort of forget about the long days. Plus, when we go in the solstice, it's 24 hours of daylight. Okay. So it doesn't seem like all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock and the sun's starting to go down. It's a different vibe because the sun doesn't go down.
Okay. For new riders, you touched on that you get a lot of riders who aren't used to the long distances. So what are some anxieties you see the day before? So you guys ship your bikes up, you ship the customer bikes that are in a transport. Yeah. Day one, everyone arrives, they're off the plane. What are some anxieties that you see on day one, and how do riders feel after that first day of riding?
So day one's kind of like, guys are a little bit, they seem to be nervous, and then you have the guys that think they're the, know everything about it all and they're the cool guys, and then you have the people that are timid. But what happens is after a day or two, you'll see where the tour is broken up into little groups. You'll have some guys that end up riding together, like, they're buddies, they maybe take a lot of pictures and they have that in common. So they just end up organically being together. You have the fast guys that think they're, best thing on a bike, and they're gone. Yeah. Like some trips in the morning, because on our trips, we don't do it like a follow the leader type thing. It's more like, here's a set of tracks. You know what? You got to be out of the hotel by 8:30. Dinner's at 6 o'clock. Okay. We'll see you then. And the thing is, with the Yukon, there's only 5 roads, so you can't get lost. Like there's no way unless you can navigate the Yukon with a map. I could hand draw you a map, and you would never get lost. Okay. It's that simple. So the first days, everybody's nervous. By the third day, everybody's into their groove. Everybody's with their clique, or not clique, with their group, guys, or whatever you want to call it. And it ends up being perfect. Okay. It ends up being really good.
So you have predetermined stops along the way, so whether it's fuel stops or attractions?
Yep. So what we do is, so on our tracks that we give you, it'll say, okay, fuel in 100 kilometers. You know, fuel in 200 kilometers. Okay. So, and then plus we give a handwritten sort of itinerary each day that tells you exactly what's happening. So you don't have to have sort of fuel anxiety. A lot of guys, they're worried about fuel. Like, oh my God, I'm up in the Yukon, I'm up in Alaska, there's no fuel. Like they think there's no fuel anywhere. There's actually fuel everywhere. Okay. So maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago there wasn't, but now there's a ton of fuel. There's only one spot there isn't a lot of fuel, and that's the Dempster Highway. You have to have 400 kilometers of range to get to the first fuel stop. 397 to be exact, or 87, and that's at Eagle Plains. So from the bottom of the Dempster Highway to Eagle Plains, 387 kilometers without fuel. What a lot of guys will do for that is they'll either bring a gas bag, seems to be super popular these days, or on a guided tour with us, if you don't want to worry about it at all, we have our fuel, we have our chase truck loaded with fuel. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. A lot of guys just don't want to wait for it. So if they stop, you know, my chase guy might be back, because our chase guy, goes as slow as the slowest rider. So if you have a rider that's at the back and he, you know, stops a lot for pictures or he smokes or whatever, my chase guys do not pass him. Okay. So if you're near the front, you run out of fuel, you might have to wait maybe an hour and half an hour. So a lot of guys want to carry their own and not be sufficient on the chase truck. So, yeah.
Okay. So a big thing on the tours is fuel anxiety and then fuel preparedness as well. Clint's touched on the Dempster Highway, how there is a longer stretch where you may have to have auxiliary fuel depending on your bike's capacity. Can you touch on some options that can help?
Sure. So there's a few different options that we use that I'm very familiar with. Years ago, it seemed everybody was into Rotopacks. They come with a mount. It'll sort of mount right on your back tail rack if you have one like that. These are good. I like these. When the fuel bags came out, we switched over to these. These things are awesome. I think there's a couple of companies that makes them. This one that we use a lot is Giant Loop fuel bag. These things are great. They come with a little funnel or a spout, I guess you'd call it. This thing's invaluable. The early ones, when they first came out, they didn't have this, so you had to literally undo this cap and try to fill it up. It was a nightmare. You get gas all over. It was horrible. So now they came with this, which is great. What I like about these things, when you're done with it, they can just roll right up. So you can just roll that right up like that, and you can just throw that in your bag or tie it on there or something. We're fans of these. I like these a lot. We use these all the time.
So next we're going to talk about apparel and what you should be wearing head to toe on the tours. Again, this is a guided tour, as if you're stopping at hotels or rest each day. You're not doing camping.
I'm going to give you my 3 biggest things that I think you should have. Proper raincoat. That's definitely a good raincoat, tested coat where you've actually got wet and it kept you dry. Where you rode through some rain, you hosed yourself down with the hose. You have to stay dry. When you're out riding and you're cold and wet, or if you're wet, all of a sudden that 9 degrees feels like 1 degree. You're freezing.
Yeah, like a true waterproof versus water resistant.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. Spend some money. Don't cheap out on it. Spend some money. Get a good suit. Boots are huge. Waterproof boots. Even if you have waterproof or non-waterproof boots, and you are riding down a paved road and it's raining, if your boots aren't waterproof, your feet are getting soaked. The spray coming off your bike is going to soak your boots. So if they're not waterproof, cold feet are a real. That's super, super not good. Okay. As well, hands. First thing to get cold are your hands. Have a great pair of gloves, waterproof, Gore-Tex. Spend some money on some good gloves. Another thing we use a lot, and it's subjective, but are hand muffs. Okay. So I try to get people to put the hand muffs on. On our tours, you're basically on gravel roads, paved roads, dirt roads, so there's nothing technical. It's not single track. We ride in 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 6 degrees. We wear our motocross gloves when we have our muffs on. It's like a little mini oven in there. It's perfect.
Okay.
Nice and dry. You want to stay dry. Layering. Everybody knows about layering. And it doesn't have to be, you know, a motorcycle shop layering. You can go to a hiking store, all those cool sort of camping stores. They're going to give you anything you need for layering. Myself, I wear a puffy jacket, folds down to be less than this.
Okay.
We use a rain jacket even when it's not raining, even if it's cold. So we'll have, say, our puffy jacket on, maybe our climb to car jacket on, and then over top you throw the raincoat on, and it acts as a good wind buffer.
Oh, okay.
Staying warm is key. As soon as you get cold, all of a sudden things change, and it just doesn't make the trip fun anymore. When you're on tour with us, we have maybe 300 kilometers to go,
okay,
or 400 kilometers to go. So you can't turn around. So you're in it. So I'm so big on making sure that people are dry and warm. We give a suit, we give a full rain suit,
okay,
just to make sure, because you know, you can tell me you got a great rain suit and then you show up and it's a garbage bag.
Yeah.
I hate that. So you come on my tour, I give you a rain suit, because so at least I know in my heart that you're going to be dry.
Okay.
So, a lot of guys use heated gear.
Okay.
So for the cold mornings, I forgot to mention that. That's super easy. You just have a tender coming off your battery. It just plugs in. You know, at least a jacket liner,
yeah,
to keep your core sort of nice and warm. A lot of guys use heated gear. My wife, Cheryl, she's adamant about heated gear. She loves it.
Okay.
So it's basically your choice and how much you want to spend and all that.
So maybe if we can touch on what not to bring on a supported tour and how it maybe differs from a long-term solo tour. So what sort of gear do you see people commonly bringing that never gets used and is just...
So I think it's a ton of clothing that they don't ever end up using. You know, you'll have a guy show up with, you know, a pair of pants for every single day that he's on tour. Just overloaded, you know, a pair of running shoes, you know, a pair of flip-flops, a pair of boots. You have to really sort of scale back on what you need. Everybody brings too much. I bring too much, and I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I still bring too much. So, you know, bring one coat, but make sure it's a good coat. Bring, you know, one pair of shoes, but maybe that pair of shoes, it can be kind of like a sandal, it can be like a shoe, it can be like a boot, sort of all in one. You know what I mean? Besides your riding boot. On our trips, you're allowed to throw in a duffel bag into our chase truck. A lot of guys are good with that, and that's all they'll have is that little duffel bag. There's a lot of minimalists out there that we see. We see both sides. We see guys that bring in everything. Their bike is piled up so high, and I think, are you moving to the Yukon? Like,
extra
why do you
tires.
have so much stuff? Like, and we have a chase truck that takes a ton of stuff. But then on the other hand, we have minimalist guys that their bag's this big, and they live out of that. They basically have, you know, toothbrush, toothpaste, and a couple pairs of underwear and a pair of pants, and that's it. That's what they have for the week. So we see it at both extremes. But generally, on the guys that are coming for the first time around, generally speaking, it's too much gear. Most of the time you're in your riding gear all day anyways, so your other clothes, you're basically in it from 4 o'clock at night till you go to bed. Get up in the morning, you know, within an hour you're in your riding gear and we're riding. So that's what I see on our trips.
Okay, so maybe good to reach out if you're doing a tour to the company and see tools that are provided. If you have a proprietary tool for your bike,
right,
like an axle nut to do a tire, maybe you're bringing that sort of stuff, but leave your hard panniers at home and double check with the tour company maybe with what you should bring. Yeah,
as far as tools go, you know, a lot of guys love to have their own tools, which is awesome. Over the years, we take generators, we take toolboxes, we have tires, tubes, with the ability to do everything which we do. We're always constantly fixing things, which generally is tires.
And probably a good time to talk about bike readiness. So Clint, when it comes to pre-trip maintenance essentials, so getting your bike ready for a trip, so for your tours, you guys usually recommend people book the bikes in, have a look over. What are you finding guys are missing before they go on the tours that you end up having to service here before the trips?
Brakes. Because they'll look at their brake pads and they'll say, you know what, I got, 25, 30% left, I'll be good. But we're doing, almost 3,500 kilometers. Gravel, gritty mud that wears down brake pads super quick. So, 3 days into the tour, you're steel on steel because you thought you had a ton of brake pad, but actually once you get out there and you're riding that many kilometers in a day, and it's always in, sort of adverse conditions, it's not always sunny, awesome pavement, it's rain, it's, like I said, that sand that gets in there, that Dempster Highway mud that just wears stuff down, even when you're not putting your brakes on, that mud gets in there and just wears stuff down. They have to have good tires. If your bike comes here and it doesn't have good tires, we have to figure it out. We either get you into some tires. An oil change is always a good thing to have. We get a lot of guys that will do an oil change before, and then when they're done the trip, they'll do another oil change. Chain and sprockets, once again, you make sure you got lots of life left in them before you go. Fork seals, we used to find a lot of fork seals in the early days. You get on that Dempster Highway, there's an awful lot of little bumps. Little sort of chatter bumps, but 4, 5, 6 hours worth. And plus that, what they use to make the road hard, there's a term for it that they add, and they actually put it on the Dempster Highway. So what happens is, on your forks, that stuff will turn like concrete, like harden like concrete, and then when your forks are sort of going up and down, all of a sudden your fork seals go. First time we went many years ago, we got up to Dempster, up to Eagle Plains, and we were like, man, there's 4 bikes and they're all leaking fork seals. It was like, that's crazy. So from that day on, what we started to do on tours now, we put these little fork skins right on your fork tubes. We haven't had a problem since. So it just basically, for the tour, it just keeps all the gunk and sand and that
like a neoprene.
It's a neoprene sock. That's all it is. It's super easy. We put them on here. That's another part of our tip. You don't even know they're on there. We just put them on there for you for the trip. But yeah, so pre-maintenance, your bike has to be good. Your tires have to be good. If you really think about it, you're putting a lot of money into a tour. So you don't want to get up there. The last thing you want to do is get up there and your bike craps out. So just make sure the thing is good. Take it to a shop. Have your mechanic do a once over. Tell them what you're doing. Say, look, I'm going up to the Yukon. You know what? I'm going to be riding for 3,500 kilometers. What do I need? So that's what I suggest.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Can you expand a bit on rider etiquette? So if you are an experienced rider who's going on a tour, maybe you've done long distances before, versus the new rider who maybe is just getting into adventure riding. It's their first tour, they don't have the confidence built up, and maybe about how that tour is built still around that new rider and they don't need to be worried or anxious being new?
Sure. So that's a big deal. Rider anxiety coming on a tour, you don't know if you're going to be, good enough or fast enough or capable enough to do the roads, all that. What you want to do when you come on a tour is you want to ride your own ride. So you don't want to try to keep up with the fast guys. You just don't want to do that because that's just a recipe for disaster. And plus you want to enjoy yourself. And that could be a couple of different things. The fast guys, they don't want to stop and take pictures. They just want to race. They just want to get there. They just like to ride fast. It's fun for them. That's great. Let them do it. You ride your own ride. If you want to stop and take pictures, do it. If you want to do, because you're there to enjoy yourself. You don't want to be stressed out. It goes the same way for the fast guys. So if you want to ride a little quicker than everyone else, don't worry about slowing down, waiting for the slow guys. Just ride your own pace. Of course, you have to be within the legal limits, the speed limits, all that sort of stuff. Once in a while on our tours, and I go over this, I see people doing stuff that they would normally not do. So just because we're on a lot of gravel roads, sometimes you're there for hours without seeing a car, and all of a sudden you'll have a guy pass you on this side. He's passing you on the right-hand side, right? Which is, you would never do that on a road here. And so I stress this, why would you do something like that just because we're in the Yukon on a tour? Like, why do you think you can pass some guy? It's unnatural. It freaks the guy out, first of all, that's, riding in his proper lane, and you're passing him on the inside. Like, it's just not right. So we very much tell people, rider etiquette, just ride like you're riding at home. You know, just because we're on a tour doesn't mean you have to do anything different.
So on the Dualsport Plus Tours, they have a chase truck that follows as a support vehicle. Clint, can you touch on maybe tools that you should or don't need to bring, and then what the role of your support truck is, and what people going on tour with you can use the truck for, or its main purpose?
So with us in the chase truck, you don't have to bring a tool. If you don't want to bring a tool, it's entirely up to you. What I would suggest you bring, if your bike has a specific tool that it needs, say it's a specific size axle wrench or a suspension tool or something that's different than your just generic tools. So our chase truck, we carry everything. We carry, generators. We carry grinders, hammer. Like, we have everything that we can fix your bike. We haven't had a bike that we couldn't fix. However, a lot of guys like to work on their own stuff. So bring what you think you need. You don't need a big, massive toolbox. Just bring what you think is good. You might need a wrench for this, and you don't want to wait for the chase truck there. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're ahead of everybody, you pull over, if you have a little wrench on, you can fix your own little mirror quickly. The chase truck will fix everything. We do fix everything. We do tires. What I tell people to do for their bikes, I always get guys to buy a set of brake pads, front and rear, and just take it with them. Just have it with you on your bike, just in case we need to switch it out. You got them. And with them, you're always going to need brake pads anyways, so you might as well just buy a set and have it with you. We always carry tires. We carry tubes. We carry patches.
Fuel, you said?
Fuel, yeah, you don't have to worry about fuel anxiety on coming on one of our tours. No fuel anxiety ever. We have fuel. Yeah, that's it. The chase truck, it's there if you need it. If you don't want it, you don't need it, it's there if you do. We'll fix it.